Been brewing up a little mana potion. Hold on. Please don't explode on me now, please. Oh. Perfect. Always got to keep one's lips nice and not dry if you can handle it. Especially when you've been talking a lot. There we are. I haven't saved you. But thank you for telling me that I did. A wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. Today, I will be writing some letters. As you may know, at the end of our time in New Witchington, many were called to a campfire and gave tearful recounts of their experiences, their memories, all of it. But when it came time for me to do it, I couldn't find the words. I was too crushed, too childish, and too quiet. It didn't end in quite the way that I would have wanted. So, today, I'd like to read out some letters I've written that are all about some of the people who made the biggest impact on me in New Witchington and beyond. It's a bit tricky because I would never have been able to write a letter to absolutely everyone, but I made sure to write them. I made sure to write them about those that I could think to, and there are quite a lot. So sit back, relax, pull up any kind of favorite snack. I've been baking again. There are some apple cinnamon cookies at the front if you'd like them, or honey cheesecake if that's more your style. And I'll read you through the letters from the desk of the wizard. There are a lot of page breaks here, but in total, there are 22 pages here. Wow. And I wrote them all this morning. Dear Lucas, I hope that the new house I helped you build is treating you well. I often have dreams about the night I destroyed your tower, and I look back on the moment I flew away, terrified that I'd taken a step I could never take back. You have a remarkable ability to bring laughter into a room. You have an earnest sense of belonging, making it easy for people to feel like they belong with you. I regret I hadn't been able to teach you more before I flew away to become the villain. Your fascination with magic is so refreshing to me as someone who became fascinated with it due only to my father's influence. You come to the community center quite often. It reminds me of the time I snuck around town while invisible. Your cloning magic was new to me, and when I first saw that many people in archmage robes, I thought the town had already amassed an army. I was petrified. But if I could speak from the heart, Lucas, I worry about you. Whether it's sharing a home with Elle, who would later become a villain even more sinister than I, blowing a hole in the front of Miss Eileen's tavern, or getting repeatedly killed during our final battle, you seem to find yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time often. I don't think that this is something you should be ashamed of, though. You seek others out, earnestly wanting to impress them with what you've learned, to show them things that you think are interesting. Finding yourself in scrapes in the way you do isn't weakness. It's just earnest. Each step I took down my dark path, you sought me out. You always made time for me, and I won't soon forget that. Don't stop seeking people out. If you find someone you want to spend time with, seek them out just like your heart tells you to. I'm sorry for the ways I lashed out and hurt you. Sometimes earnest communication can seem frightening to me. Don't let it frighten you too. Be full, be well, be open, and of course, be earnest. You can't buy love, money, weather, but you realized that long before I did. Yours sincerely, Velociraptor II. Dear Rosie, I don't know you as well as I'd like, but I find myself thinking of you in moments where I walk past your bakery or where the election stand used to be. In fact, I barely know you at all. I intimidated you in your own bakery, prosecuted you by insinuating that you were abusive to your now husband John, congratulations, and then I pulled out an excessively powerful spell and blew you up in front of your friends before I blew them up as well. Needless to say, now that I'm spending more time in town these days, I think about how unnecessary all of this was. Yes, I may be the only person in town who was actually mortified by your attempt to assassinate the mayor, which, might I add, is a very surreal sentence to write down, but here we are. Beyond idle pranks and theft, after the trial I started thinking about why the town saw this as such a novel joke, while I saw it as something horrifying. There are a lot of things about this world and its people that I still do not understand, most of all the way I feel other in how I respond to threats. Who's to say which of us is right or wrong? I try not to dwell on it, but perhaps that makes me the latter. I'd like to take this time simply to say that I'm sorry for all I did to harm you and your friends. Your bakery is wonderful, and I'd eat there more often if I wasn't so close to completing my Breadway's loyalty card. I hope the spells I used on you haven't caused you too much pain, and that you can see from this letter to you, being quite self-indulgent, there's so much I don't know about you yet. If you can stand the sight of me, you should drop by the community center sometime, and I can learn more about you, as opposed to a loud speech where everyone in town learns far too much about me. Best wishes to you, Vitruvius II. Dear the Sheriff, as I sit down to write this letter, I realize I do not know your name. Do you prefer to keep it secret, or is it simply first name the, surname Sheriff? In any case, I miss you. I heard you had an awful accident falling off a dragon, and I'm leaving this letter in your office in case you make your way back to town. I assume in a land without permanent death you'll be all right, but my prayers are with you, all the same. I feel a sense of kinship with your struggle to be recognized. I've felt that my efforts have often gone unnoticed, although I'm learning now that these things are a matter of perspective. I suppose it's this sense of kinship that leads us to our brief allegiance. Standing outside Calvin's tower as the rain came down, striking an accord before the sunrise, was a powerful memory. At the center of it all, your gleeful stride up to us and that accent I will never be able to place. I wouldn't have thought to ask you to join me otherwise, but I'm glad I did. You helped me start to realize how bad of a villain I really make. Our plan to frame Zealand for Father Freed's murder was completely idiotic. I just felt like we needed to try and do something to remind the world we still existed. I'm sorry he gave you the runaround, and that some of your last memories of this place were of failure. If it brings you peace, you should know that our meetings always gave me a good laugh, and that the whole town does miss you terribly. Even if they acted like you weren't doing your job, I knew you were. You were never the sheriff. You're a good man wanting to bring order to chaos. That I can understand more each day that goes by. I hope this finds you well, and if you recover from your injuries, I owe you a drink. Until next time, partner, yours truly, Vitruvio. Dear Breadwinner, I know not why I write you a letter, as while I may not see you every day, I certainly see Breadways each morning. A fully functional eatery that can operate without any staff present is a brilliant concept, and it leaves little wonder why you've become as wealthy as you have. I might not be the richest man in the land anymore, but I'm happy to give that title up to someone who so earnestly wanted to make a living here. You fed me, whether I fought for good or evil, and that neutrality brought me tremendous peace. It still does. In a town full of righteousness, conversations about the nature of light versus dark, assassination attempts and craters popping up left and right, your straightforward pursuit of wealth is remarkably calming. You should show to the world that which you are, in exchange for an emerald or two, of course. I may be learning to bake now, but I promise my cookies and cannolis are not meant to rival your astonishing success. I'm simply a hobbyist, inspired by a battle mage resembling his father, and the greatest restaurateur New Witchington has ever seen. I hope now that things have calmed down around here, perhaps we might talk over one of your very delicious and affordable sandwiches sometime. I'm often in a rush, and I feel a little nervous about heart-to-hearts. But it feels strange to be so unfamiliar with you, while my stomach is so familiar with your food. The community center is always open, so come and find me if you'd like. Hopefully we won't need any sandwich towers to protect us from a hail of arrows this time. From your number one customer, Vitruvius II. To my dearest imp, you, I think, take the crown as the most unlikely friend I've ever made. I cannot mince words. When we first met, I hated you. So much. After the events of our third day, when you haunted my steps and added to my hideous paranoia, I was so angry I could cry. I didn't know who was doing what to me at the time, but you couldn't have known quite how afraid I was, and how much you added to that. Now, don't take this as me trying to reopen old wounds, though. Now that much time has passed, I can't help but laugh at how much of a disaster it all was. I'm very fond of you these days. I think most of all down to how candid you were with me at my lowest. Remembering the times you invited me onto the Ferris wheel and the roller coaster still fills me with so much joy. When I walk through town these days, I often see photographs of what looks like the whole town enjoying the circus together, cramming themselves onto the roller coaster, woe betide any safety regulations, laughing, crying. The hardest part of that is feeling the consequences of my actions make themselves apparent day by day. I'm realizing how much I missed, how my days could have been filled with laughter and joy if I had just let someone change me. You said to me on the Ferris wheel that I changed you, and my heart sings at the thought of that. To know that you were able to change even a little and worked so hard on something that brought so many together inspires me to keep trying every single day. You might be one of the root causes of all of my pain, but I could never hold this against you. I am so glad we could become friends, and I am very proud of you. I hope we get some time alone to catch up on the Ferris wheel someday soon. Maybe we can come up with something even funnier than get cubed. Yours truly, Vitruvius II. Dear Dr. Bud Dogs, you are a wonderful voice of calm in the perpetual storm that is my life. To reach out so directly and with such a boundless smile, how on earth could I say no to fishing with you? Your pursuits as a fisherman are just fascinating to me. I grew up on the assumption that magic and ergo power were the only ways of commanding respect. Yet, all you do is fish and talk, and the town loves you. You don't fight, you don't scheme, plot, or anything. All you do is fish and give out colourful hats. And I love that about you. To find happiness in the smallest things, I think, is to be truly happy. Where much of what we love can disappear if we build our houses on the sand, your peace is in the water. And water there always will be. I'm sure there is great pain in you, even still. To fish surrounded by friends is to feel love in abundance every hour of the day, like a beloved pet. You're always there for us when we need to relax, for someone to listen. Yet, I worry I haven't been able to listen to you as much in return. The words you said, that the burden to be the bigger person always falls on the one who was wronged, were very powerful. And I think of them every day. In the first few days after our arrival, I felt I was the one wronged, and I couldn't find it in myself to be the bigger person. I would have fairness and consequence for what I thought had been done to me, and there was no argument to be had. Now, though, I have wronged the entire town, and they have been forced to be bigger in order to welcome me back. The only one who wouldn't have that was Zealand. He spent his life here being the bigger person, really, the biggest a person could be. I am fraught with regret, praying each night that this guilt may finally go away, but I know that the biggest consequence of all is living with one's own evil. Even in a letter to you, my thoughts are of myself, my conflicts, my worries. I am selfish. I hope that through the community center I might learn how it feels to be the bigger person. I would love to go fishing with you again, and when we do, I would like to hear about your worries. I hope that this foolish ex-wizard can bring you some semblance of comfort. Yours sincerely, Vitruvius II. Dear Miss Eileene, like a phoenix from the ashes, your tavern stands as a place for all of us to gather, to eat, to drink, and to find one another. I remember that after Lucas Moneyweather blew a hole in the front of it some weeks ago, it took an immense toll on you. More so still was the feeling of being ignored in your darkest moment. I wanted to write to apologize, again, for failing to see how hurt you were, and how badly you needed help. Carnage and destruction were once staples of my life, and in that numbness I often failed to realize just how small one blast can irrevocably alter a person's life. Seeing your pain, and then your unwillingness to give up, gives me courage to face my own battles, though. Despite my threats of demolition to the town if my demands weren't met, you built on, steadfast in the knowledge that this was what you wanted. I have far more respect for your quiet persistence than I could ever deserve. It'll be a long time before I forget the morning where you sat with me and encouraged me to talk. It was you that made me realize quite how much kindness the town had to offer. I had this unbreakable view of the townsfolk after the first week. I thought that they were all mindless people that laughed and jeered at misfortune when I found no one to help pursue the people who were stealing from me. I regret every day that I never took the time to see just how much warmth was waiting for me if I had the sense to look. Sitting in the lion's den eating that delicious food, I felt close to tears. The fire was roaring, but I felt cold. It was the first I saw just how foolish I'd been, and without you, I might not be here today. I pray you'll keep working at the tavern, and if any more holes appear in it, just know I'll always be there to dry your tears and build it back to where it needs to be. If you need me, the community centre is right around the corner. We can feed whoever did it to egg tart. With gratitude, Vitruvius II. Dear Royale, I'm sorry your story has so many untied loose ends. You were caught between two ideologies, accepted by one you didn't identify with, but longing to find another that was too cautious to bring you in. I regret so much that I doubted your allegiance at first, even though the Knights are now just our team name when it's time for a pub quiz. Having you along for the ride would have made our quest far easier. I remember your obsession with heroism giving me pause. I worried that if your idea of what would make you a hero would change, then perhaps you would betray me. I was paranoid, I was foolish, and I regret each day that I didn't show you the kindness you showed me. You were kind to me from the beginning, arriving at my tower in the early hours of our fourth day, always the one to talk me down when I was too angry to think straight. That said, although I know you're struggling, feeling like you're just a man with a sword, you must know, deep down, you are so much more. On my return to town, Zealand took his leave, and his absence left a crater deeper than any explosion I could conjure. Despite his anger, he gave and gave and gave until he had nothing left to give. Is that kindness, or is it madness? Is that heroism, or is it empty sacrifice? The answer, I think, lies with the people whose lives he touched. His disappearance commanded the attention of the entire town, and now a monument to his memory floats high in the sky, even though he is still very much alive. For you, Royale, I cannot imagine how frustrating your life must have become to feel used by the people for your strength, always useful, but never wanted. True kindness, though, as I've learned, is invisible. It stands ready, waiting to catch even the most selfish and undeserving of people, like me, because there is no other way to change the world. I was prepared to destroy the world, but the kindness of a few special people held me back. You were one of those special few. No, it isn't fair. It's thankless, it's grueling and impossible. But I know the man you want to be is one who would scale a mountain, face down a dragon, and rescue the princess, all without expecting her to kiss you. To suffer for others, to bear their burdens for them and for me, as you have always done. That's what makes a hero. Thank you, O mighty hero, for saving me from myself. Yours truly, Vitruvius II. Dear Darkness, or this letter may be somewhat confusing to you. I'm unsure if you've regained your memories as Father Freed did, so perhaps if none of this makes sense, you can reseal this letter and leave it for if darkness ever returns. Whichever name you go by, though, I hope that you're keeping well. While I'm grateful that you wanted to fight me, I must apologize for instantly blowing up every single one of your 130 crows instantaneously. Yes, I counted. They must have taken a long time to find. The day I blew everyone up after the trial, your confession was a key factor that pushed me to do what I did. Why? After so much time had already been spent on learning the truth, why lie? Why lie in such a flagrant, taunting manner? You made me feel like the whole trial was called specifically to embarrass me. And so what if it was? It isn't your job to cater to the feelings of a grown wizard who can take care of himself perfectly well. If only you'd seen, though, how hard Naboo and I worked on our arguments. She worked harder than I did, of course. Notes from floor to ceiling on every wall and table, so much detail, nothing missed, everyone spoken to, yourself included. She approached the trial like she did everything else in life, with endless excitement and passion. If anything, much of why I lashed out that day isn't because I was angry for myself. I was angry for her, too. She gives so much time to this town that I think wasting it is a terrible thing. My hand trembles as I write. I apologize if my lettering is at all sloppy. I'm cursed by a thought. After how many I killed and the regret I do carry, I think you are the one person I do not regret killing. I think that you truly deserved it. These ideas are, of course, insane. Yet they persist, and I cannot put them to rest. If you do regain your memories, I would like to speak with you. And maybe I can understand more about why you do what you do. Why you are the way you are. Best, Vitruvius II. To Christian Mark Zadi the Handsome El Guapo. Whatever your real name is, it's impressive that you've managed to be so recognized by the townspeople despite never sharing that part of yourself. I still find it hard, in truth, to get past my hang-ups about you. I never disliked you before, but the way you spoke to Calvin, even if you apologize, still doesn't sit quite right with me. Perhaps it's because we're so different and view the world in such opposite ways. Perhaps it's because you kept lying to me about my lanterns, even if you decided to return them afterwards. I don't really care about lanterns especially, but I've become very harshly aware of just how much lies can pull friendships and communities to shreds. You lie about little things, never about that which truly matters, but you must know the little ones do add up. I thought lying about learning to bake was only a little thing, but it's the lie I regret most, out of all the ones I've told since the day I was born. Even still, I'm sorry that I mocked and belittled your trains. I was too angry and needed something to attack. Of sound mind, I can see that they are incredible, absolute marvels of engineering. To think that they're all built by one man is astonishing. I said, then, that I couldn't see the purpose of a train in a world where flight is so much cheaper, faster, and free to learn for all. But since giving up magic, I curse myself whenever I decide to walk instead of taking a ride with you. Whether you have the town in your thoughts or you just love trains, you've won me over. I think I love trains too now, even if they give me a terrible headache. I'm sorry that my attacks caused you so much worry and pain. I'm sorry that Calvin and Leo joining my Knights of Ours caused you so much anger. I am grateful you didn't leave the town. I still struggle to see you as a truly benevolent man. But day by day, the town teaches me pieces of the puzzle called forgiveness. Hopefully, once I learn it, I might deserve it from you, too. If you can stomach it, maybe we can chat over breadways on the train sometime. And if we still can't see eye to eye, you can cube me again. Deal? With anticipation, Vitruvius II. To the office of one Mayor Clifford Relexus. I hope this letter finds you well. One of my biggest and deepest regrets is that after the massacre I enacted on the townspeople by the courthouse, after I burned you alive and called you a fucking hack and also a fucking useless bastard, and that I was sick of listening to you, I didn't get the chance to talk with you again until our final day. The conversations we did share, though, I treasure every day. It's bizarre to think about a time that you and I were sworn enemies, vying for intellectual supremacy, magic versus science. Those were the days. I'll never know where you come from to have such a remarkable voice, but it captured the townsfolk, and me too. I remember my father running for mayor in his own town many years ago, and when he lost, he was furious. When I lost to you, I applauded. No one could have led this town quite like you do. I would have made a pretty lousy mayor anyhow. It's ironic, isn't it? The moment I snapped was because someone who attempted but failed to kill you walked free, and in response, I killed you myself. I hope those burns haven't left a mark. They certainly haven't marked your warrior's spirit. I owe much to you. Although I often say otherwise, I'm beginning to see just how free community is, thanks to you. It costs so much, and yet it is there, even for those who can't afford it. I often think about the role kindness plays in our lives, who deserves it and who should be the ones to administer it. But you showed me that even with your harebrained tax schemes and aloof half-truths, you still took the time to listen to anyone who needed your attention, even if they're an angry wizard who wants to defend his special interest. The truth is, if you hadn't been on your ridiculous tirade about rooting out and destroying magic, you might never have gotten in the face of one Naboo about it, prompting me to come over and save her from your misplaced but well-intentioned fury. I almost forgot. But I have you to thank for introducing me to my best friend, the one who would save us all from me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your service to this town. I hope my service to you and the people of New Witchington can someday match up to the colossal footsteps that you tread. Standing on the shoulders of this giant, I see a bright future where Standing on the shoulders of this giant, I see a bright future where community is still free. Yours emphatically, Vitruvius II. Dear Granny Minterva, every day I'm haunted by how little I truly know the population of New Witchington. You and I only truly spoke once, when I arrived at the farmer's market in the early hours. You offered me figs and fig jam for free, and spoke to me with warmth and gentleness. I stayed for a spell, and then flew off again. Little did I know I was missing out on a greater dialogue with one Calvin speaks of so fondly. You likely know by now that he is very precious to me, and to know that there is someone in town that will always look out for him is of tremendous comfort to me. I may be looking for the wrong weapons with which to slay my demons, but while he seeks his mother, to me, he is like a son. I fool myself into thinking I can be a parent to him greater than my father was to me. But I know really that what he needs is someone like you. From what I can tell, you take to love and care like a fish to water. Even I, with all I'd done, was welcome to your figs, and the more I learn about people, the more I learn just how special that kindness is. I had thought the world would work to crush kindness like that, but it lives on in so many, and from all I hear from Calvin, the way he seems lighter and happier after he has spoken with you, I know you deal kindness to all like you turn water to wine. Still, I curse not knowing you better. Perhaps I can come to the farmer's market soon and buy some more fig jam? I'd love to see how you make it. With my gratitude, Vitruvius II. Bubbly mana potion, goodness me. A little bit of the bubbly. To my lovely mum, I know you won't easily remember the time we spent together in childhood, my childhood, but I won't easily forget. I think I'd feel more upset about losing you to your distant memories. But seeing how you treat others, I know you were born to be a mother, not just to me, but to all. Motherhood is in many ways a thankless job. You break your body, endure pain unlike anything people are expected to experience otherwise, all to give life to one person who you spend decades raising and caring for. It's no wonder then that when I tried convincing you that the townfolk didn't value your contributions, you didn't care. It's in your nature to give, whether it's in your front of house for socializing, your dining room for meetings, or your chests for me to take Wilden horns from. But I did leave something in return, and I know you don't use them. I'm not that evil. You gave everything to give me this wonderful life, and still you give. It's difficult to write this, knowing these words will likely bring you great discomfort, make you wonder why on earth I haven't given up on what you think is delusion. But I know I cannot let you out of my life. My thoughts are so often of Father, his impact on my life, my upbringing, and how he echoed into my present and future. I pray now that bearing your name, when I bring children into this world myself, I can parent as you did. Surround them with gifts, take them on adventures, let them play with beasts of all shapes and sizes. Even when without a child to hold, now that I'm all grown up, you find peace with animals because caring is in your nature. It is in your soul. I have exercised Father from mine, and I hope I can fill the hole he left with the love I'm sure you'd shower me with if there ever came a day that the rains of grief parted and you remembered your son. Don't rush. This is a long life, and when you're ready, I'll be glad to be back in yours. With love, Wilderton II. Dearest Leo, I find you endlessly surprising. You're so calm, yet have such fervor and love for those you want to protect. Perhaps that's why it took me longer than usual to trust you as a knight of ours, but I couldn't be happier that I did. Not only did your hard work make our lives as knights so much easier and propelled us in our journey that much faster, but before our time with each other drew to a close, I saw how desperately you needed family. I'm glad I brought you on board, if only now to make sure that you were being looked after. I cannot imagine the pain, guilt, and self-loathing that must have come from your relation to Elle. It's difficult to admit, but when we were hoping to liaise with Elle, and the one called Lament gave that terrifying speech to you, I arrived late. I only saw your desperation, your sadness, and I didn't trust it at first. That day had been so fraught with surprises and had made me so worried. I stood in the shadows until it became clear that you were about to do something unthinkable. The thought of your name being up there with Father Freed and darkness as someone who died permanently or lost their memories is sickening. You approached everything you did with a smile, whether it be as guildmaster or knight. Your kindness is quiet, immovable, and strong. Even when betraying the town, you did so to aid me. I hope that you're faring well these days. I don't see you much, but I ruminate too often on how the pain of carrying so much while fighting your doubts about your lineage must feel. You hold your feelings close, but you don't need to anymore. If ever you need to put your feet up, have a cry, or have a gas about the good old days, my doors are always open, and Egg Tart is always hungry. Love, Vitruvius II. Dear Violet, it feels strange not to know you as a sage, but it hasn't changed how calm I feel when you drop by. It's a magnificent piece of architecture, but I feel stupid for not realizing that it isn't the monastery that makes all neutral, all serene, all bright. It's you. The day I happened to go to the monastery while Calvin, Royale, and you were there is the one I revisit many times in my dreams. The sound of your voice reverberating off the walls you built, the warmth of the sun beaming through those windows. And there's that word again, calm, that washed over me after a day of nothing but fear. I have spent a not insignificant amount of time trying to make things right after all I did, but with you, I finally feel the littlest bit of respite, as though Mother Nature herself is saying it's all right, that I did go through a lot, that I'm not wrong for feeling the way I did, that I do, in fact, deserve to be happy. For bringing her to this land and sharing her voice with us, I will always be in your debt. I am sorry, though, for conflict that I brought to the monastery. I only intended to find peace there, but where I go, only conflict follows. I hope that now I can revisit the monastery without saying a word and leave having prayed with little else. I still think of the conversation we had about your burdens, how your kindness was often taken advantage of. It seems to be the way of things in this world. People will take advantage of charity, and that is absolute. I applaud your decision to step away from the monastery and seek peace on your own terms. But if there comes a time where you need magic supplies, building materials for your next project, or just something nice to eat, The Blazing Heart Trust is open to all, and I need some more baking inspiration to work towards. I'm still stuck on cookies and cheesecake. You've been strong for so many years, Violet. Weakness, by now, is an indulgence you very much deserve. Yours truly, Vitruvius II, and in all things gay men. I need to pop open another mana potion for this. Ooh. A little more stable, this one. Dear Miss Lamp, there are many in this town I should like to get to know better, but not knowing you as well as I might like is something I would desperately like to change. I know this letter is starting off quite strong, but to feel what I felt, alone in the distance, seeing as the town moved on to create works of wonder without me, lonesome, guilt-ridden and afraid, being presented with not one, but 2 works of art dedicated to me, was a feeling I hadn't felt in all the years that I had been alive. Your brush is a weapon of astonishing power. You claim not to be a warrior, yet with the strength of your artist's mind, you could carve mountains, crush forests, and still an erupting volcano, as you did with me. I went to the gallery minutes before I rode to war, but the moment I saw that eye, I knew it was a war I could never win. To think that someone I barely knew had thought so much about what I had been through and had taken the time to create something so wonderful is still a thought I can barely keep within the confines of my own mind. When I think of it, colors, dreams, fantasies, and stories leak from my eyes and ears like paint. I could scarcely describe it at all. It sounds horrifying, and it is. How horrifying? The villain is defeated by a painting. Not just a painting, though. What you said about the spark in my eyes. I pray my tears do not stain the page as I write, but to think of my father, how impossible he was to impress. To now imagine someone I barely knew noticing something as gentle and as quiet as passion in my eyes. It shouldn't be possible. Your heart is boundless, capturing all the colors of the universe as you paint. So, I write this to you as a man in desperation. Please, when you can, come by the community center and tell me all about your art. I want to hear it all, from the grand concepts down to all the minute details. I think of your gallery so often I feel sick. When it's closed, I walk nearby and stop to stare at it, bearing your heart for the town to see, and doing so with such flair, honesty, and character. That is magic. Far more than any spell I could cast. The mural of every townsperson is a project of such astounding passion. Someone with a heart as stunted as mine couldn't imagine that much generosity, that much variety of emotion. Thank you for cutting out my heart and showing it to me. You found a way to make it look very beautiful. You're a great mystery to me, but I hope I never solve it. Yours truly, now and always, Vitruvius II. Lucky. This is the hardest letter that I will write today. For most of our time together, I knew you not as Lucky, but as L, or Lament. In a strange way, I have to thank you. L fascinated me so much that my mind expanded beyond my stubborn realm of thinking. I felt like I could see all dimensions, all possibilities, because nothing could explain you. You were in my mind, and I wanted you out so badly. But I'm realizing now that in a strange way you were good for it. Right up until we finally learned the truth about you, I was convinced, having not yet heard of Lament, that L was the devil, and that we were in hell. To be tormented by an unassailable maniac, a liar with no remorse or forgiveness, it drove me mad. But realizing I was a sharpened tool, used by L in his cunning manipulation, brought me back down to earth. I still do not fully understand all of what happened. And I'm sure you don't either. I know how it feels to lose yourself to another. Burrowed inside your mind. I told Calvin once that my father was in my every action, that if I were to touch a hot stove by accident, it would be him that would move me. To know that you were trapped, sharing a body with such evil. I am so sorry that I saw you as nothing but a common criminal. You are so much more. I wish that I had the strength and maturity to know more of what to say to you now, but I still only know L. You and I have hugged, promised each other to look forward, onwards and upwards, Excelsior. Yet I realize now that Lucky is someone I barely know. I think we should change that. Please, if you find the time, come to the community center. We can chat about how it feels to lose control to someone else, and maybe together we'll start to realize that we have more power over our demons than we realize. In any case, I'm glad you were hiding in there, and that L wasn't the devil, and this is not, in fact, hell. It's too nice for that. Take care of yourself and don't be a stranger, okay? Yours sincerely, Vitruvius II. Dearest Calvin, to me you are as a son, which is very strange considering you're only a couple of years my junior. When it comes to having family issues, I think you and I have the rest of this town beat. It affects us in strange ways, doesn't it? The littlest thing your parent says or does can send shockwaves, in my case lightning bolts, all the way down your life that you won't feel for years or decades, but when they hurt, they burn. I wonder why we view each other this way, and often why many in the village thought I was much older than I was. Maybe it's the way we talk, but I think what we went through goes deeper than that. What I now know is that my childhood is all gone, used up, I don't have to reconnect with my inner child because I am him. He's stuck here, frozen in a time he was never meant to be in, because of some new adult version of Vitruvius II should have appeared by now. But he hasn't. The only adult version of myself I can imagine is my father, but I of course don't want to resemble him now. I feel little desire to change this, though. It is who I am. I might be a screaming child in the body of a hag, but that is who I am. When babies cry, they're usually in need of something, and I think what I was in need of was a chance to be a part of someone's life. To be for them, which my father failed to be for me. Of course, Calvin, for me. That is you. You are the most beautiful, most courageous, most deserving person of all the love and happiness the world could possibly give you. While your pain may make it hard to feel as though any community could ever accommodate you, I see how you light up any room you're in. You are still, in spite of all the heartlessness and dark that brought about your life, you warp it into something of boundless love and color. To find such love in those around you, to feel such anger and compassion for those you care about when they are hurt, that is far more than anyone in this world is required to show. Yet you do in effortless explosions of generosity. I know the child I used to be is long dead, crushed through a mold into some halfway demon. But I know that your inner child is more alive than ever. As long as you'll allow me, I would love to look after you, to make sure that the beautiful boy still alive in your heart never needs to grow up. I love you, Vitruvius II. Dear Naboo, I am selfish, cowardly, a liar, and a cad. At the campfire, when the speeches were being read, I heard that you didn't mention my name. I knew instantly why, and in the forefront of my mind, I accepted it. You thanked wonderful people, and your words touched everyone's hearts. So why did mine feel so cold? My head sank, my eyes trailed across the floor, and for all the hours that the fire raged on and the others laughed, hugged, cried, and said goodbye, I could barely move, but for the thought I might vomit. You see, I've been writing letters to everyone today because there's so much more I wanted to say there. But after I selfishly expected to be thanked in your speech, I couldn't muster the words. I am too childish and proud. When you found me afterwards, I knew you would say what you said. I just felt so broken then that I couldn't take in the words. Couldn't find the courage to tell you much of anything at all. It's now that I'd like to say everything I would have said in my speech, now that my entitled, stunted mind has let go of my heart, letting it beat or blaze freely. I, of course, love you too. You changed my life simply by virtue of being an unchanging, unstoppable force of nature. You are the great equalizer, something that could have the skies crashing down with all but a gentle whisper. It's a miracle to me that you, in fact, aren't what makes the moon rise and the sun set. Without you, I would be aghast to see rivers running, hear birds chirping, or taste good food. You were one of the only people who stood fast by your beliefs and defended the town from me, yet still saw right through me. To you, there was never a scary villain, a deranged pyromancer who wanted to watch the world burn. To you, in your infinite cosmic wisdom, saw that I was just a scared boy who needed to know that someone understood why he felt so afraid. Many of the townsfolk called me small. It made me feel so violently ill. I was so angry at the thought, so afraid at the idea of letting anyone see me as small, let anyone see me as anything less than a colossus. But around you, I could let myself be small. If it hadn't been for you, sitting with me out there in the end, meeting with me no matter what I'd done, right or wrong, that stopped me from ever going past the point of no return. With you, I knew I'd always have a chance. That's fair, isn't it? To think that I could run around and cause so much hurt and pain and know that you'd always be waiting for me. But you don't think of that as unfair, do you? It makes me laugh when you say you only have one brain cell, because if that's true, that brain cell is made only of love. It only thinks with love, it only solves problems with love, and it only loves. It cannot hate. There's no real reason for me to write a letter to you, because I see you every day. Getting to go back on adventures with you, getting to spend time with you when others are around, traveling to all our favorite places. I will never, ever grow tired of it. But as I write this, I tremble. I miss when we had to meet in secret. I will never miss seeing you cry. But the violent broth of emotion that always cooked inside me, finding its peaceful rolling boil whenever we sat together, that relief. It was the most magical, most endless moment of my life. So, I am sorry that I caused so much worry over your speech. It was beautiful. And if I had the maturity, if I wasn't just a scared boy in a man's body, jealous and embarrassed, I would have stood and clapped until my hands bled. Thank you for making this scared boy feel like he could finally stop feeling so afraid. My heart won't stop beating for fear any longer. You gave me a new one, and it is blazing. Yours with love, Vitruvius Orthanc Sarpit II, of the Blazing Heart. Dad, I do not think of you anymore. Best, Jr. Oh. It's going to take a lot of wax to get those envelopes sealed. At least it's all out on paper. No taking it back now. Thank you all for coming and watching me say goodbye. In reality, this is not goodbye. New Witchington is still here. All of us are still going about our days. The trains still run. The community centre is still open. Breadways is still serving fresh, delicious food. And Egg Tart is still always, always hungry. We're not gone. We're just continuing on with our lives without there being all that much point in showing you. Because things are peaceful now. What more would there be to show? Peanut and Butter are just fine. They spend a lot of time at Imp Circus in the petting zoo. They've got lots of other elephants to play with. Egg Tart doesn't like them very much. He hisses, or whatever it is that raccoons do. But he'll get used to them soon. They like to hang out around the magic stuff. I think it reminds them of home. In fact, why don't we, now that I've got you back, why don't we have a little Q&A, eh? Q&A with Vitruvius instead. Ask me some questions, eh? Let's let people know. Let's let them know. Do you know who blew up the rendezvous? Yes, I now know that it was Christian Mark El Guapo because he told me. And as far as I'm concerned, that's an eye for an eye. I did take a few pot shots at his house, which, to be honest, stood to do more damage. It must have taken a lot of TNT to blow up the entire rendezvous point, but also, you know, it's okay. We didn't keep any of our belongings there. How did he know? Now that I do not know. I have no idea how he made it there. My best guess is in his nature, pure blind luck, to be honest. What happened to the crystal? Will you let us out? Well, I threw the crystal into the crater. I can only assume that all of you finally get to rest, but you're still here. I guess you must like me. That's fine. Maybe I can find another crystal for you, but I am sure you maybe... I don't feel quite as claustrophobic anymore. How did you feel being called a hag and an old man? I was very confused and quite hurt a lot of the time, even though I can understand why a lot of people sort of wanted to say something mean to me. It definitely felt a bit, it definitely felt strange. It sort of attacked a very strange part of me, and so I would tend to clam up a bit. I still don't understand where people got the idea that I'm old. I guess maybe it's just the way I talk, or they associated me with my father. I have no idea. I have no idea. But how they could do that if I'm talking about my father so much and makes it clear that we are not the same, who knows? Who knows? Aren't wizards usually old? Wizard just means you study magic. A sorcerer is someone born with magical powers. A wizard is someone who gains magic through study. I'm a young wizard, you know. Have you ever seen Harry Potter? I don't know what Harry Potter is. Have you ever read Harry Potter? Still don't know what that is. What happened to my old tower? It's still there. I've moved everything out of there now. It's all in the Blazing Heart Trust now. And I live in the community center. I still feel very weird about using the attic space. I like to keep that sealed, and I just kind of fall asleep on a chair most of the time. I tend to get pretty tired. Did you somehow regret lying to Zealand? Every day. Every day I regret lying, and it taught me so much. As I wrote in my letter to Zealand, and the reason why I didn't write a letter to him today is because I already wrote one to him in our final day. But I do regret it immensely, and I think very much for teaching me so much about what will upset people. There's so much that I don't know, really. And I had thought that it was a completely small, meaningless fib, but to know that it actually hurt someone, I felt like I learned a lot. Being in the middle of the hustle and bustle of town, it's a lot to get used to, I'll be honest, but what I think is really valuable is the fact that having spent so much of my time as a child, I was only ever around my parents, and then as a young man moving here, I immediately went off to be by myself. I tried not to be around the others too much. So being in the community center gives me all kinds of opportunities to overhear people, join in conversations. I am learning more about people and how they work. Have I ever been in contact with Zealand? No. He's far away. I don't think any of us know how to contact him, and I think it would be a bit disrespectful to try and contact him after all of that. Why was it difficult to accept kindness? Well, I suppose it was difficult to accept kindness because I have learned to be very... I find acts of kindness to be very surprising, I'll say. It seems odd. I think there's a big part of me that wonders, all right, well, why? Why have you chosen to do this? There must be something else to it, you know? So what I tend to do is I tend to sort of not allow that. But people have shown me how to accept kindness now. So I'm still learning. These things are always in motion, but I am getting better. How does it feel being cubed? It's not that bad because, you know, you can escape it's not so hard to escape. I was a bit confused in the heat of battle about what actually happened. But then when I figured it out, it was quite funny. I'm glad he decided to do that. I think Christopher and I were the only ones actually having fun at the battle. I knew I would die then, but I was happy to. Which is why the moment I knew Elle had finally died, I just sort of looked up at the sky and let it happen. Will I ever get back to magic? I'm gonna try and say no. I think that I am not a person who should be trusted with that kind of thing. Maybe in many years there may come a day when I feel able to pick up the book and the wand again. But for now, I definitely feel quite apprehensive about it for all sorts of reasons. That's right. It's not who I am anymore, and I've done far too much damage with those things. I can do much more good in other ways. If you do anything to heal your inner child today, what would you like to do first? I don't know. I don't know. Truly I don't know. My life has been very simple and easy to write down. I was born, I was taught magic, and then I came here. It really, there's not been all that much else, so I don't know what my inner child looks like. I don't think there is one to recapture. But maybe there is one, and I just don't know what he looks like yet, and maybe I'll figure that out. Why are you 22 when your mother Willerton is in his 20s? To be honest, I do not know. I assume some time travel shenanigans, but I know that's my mother. I know what I can see, okay? Are you still entertaining the idea of teaching others magic even though you've given it up? That might be... well... it's interesting. If there's any reason that I pick up the spell book again, it will be to teach magic. If I did do that, it would basically be because I don't know. I think that I could be a pretty good teacher, maybe. Curious why you never get angry with the mayor. Well, the mayor, I don't know. The mayor, I sense such tremendous honesty in him. Even though he does lie often, there's something about him where it's almost as though he lies with honesty, where when he does tell a lie, it's a lie that you would expect. It's so within the realm of acceptability for who he is that I almost can't imagine being offended by it, you know? And he's never told a lie that genuinely hurt anyone. Would you dye your hair blonde like your mother's hair? That would be very funny. I would like to do that. Yes, very much. Do you still buy things from Mr. Breadwinner's shop? Yes, I do. I'm there every morning. If you met someone who acts like you, how would you handle the situation? Well, honestly, I think I would try and think about what Zealand would do. If I think about how much of me he saw in his younger self, I have to imagine, you know, if I can understand how to be like him, maybe I might be able to handle that sort of situation. What would you do if Elle returns? Kill myself. I think the Knights of Ours in particular love breadways. Yeah, it's because we're all just a bunch of boys. It's because we're all just a load of boys, you know? We're such boys. You know, I'm learning to bake, but I'm doing so to settle a sadness that I have, and in order to make good on a promise. And if I can get food that's high quality for a good price, breadways, we're eating breadways every day. Will you add more girls into the Knights of Ours? Well, the Knights of Ours aren't really operating anymore. You know, we were evil, but there's no need for that anymore, so we're just gonna kind of, you know, we still call ourselves that if we're in a group, but I'm not really recruiting because why recruit if there's nothing to do? You know, we don't have a rendezvous point anymore. We just live in town. Justice Edition. Maybe now that the sheriff's gone, we can be like cops. But I mean, what am I going to do now that I've given up magic? I'm not going to be able to do much. Do you hate yourself for betraying Naboo? Yes. The fact is, when I promised Naboo that I would never hurt her. I fully meant it, heart and soul. I intended never to break that promise. I was 100% certain in that moment that that would never happen. And then it happened the next day. It was such an unfortunate situation, such a crazy situation that I happened to, you know, there was the misunderstanding with the Phantom. There was, you know, Zealand arriving and not really understanding what was going on and jumping out to defend the others from me by attacking me. Me suddenly zeroing in and feeling really scared and then lashing back out and trying to stay alive. It was just a complete, you know, a terrible, terrible situation. Because ultimately, I never make spells that are sensible. All of my spells are big and they explode and do lots of damage to lots of people, and so I can't use them around anyone who is an ally. I think that's probably a big reason why I would only ever have made sense as a villain. If I fought on a team, I would kill all of my own teammates. Do you still get moments where you tunnel vision out of fear? I haven't had any since the last few days, but, you know, I still do. I still do. I mean, that's what fight or flight is, and in that moment I chose to fight. Are you aware that Orlira almost joined you in the beginning? She did? What? Joined me? She hated me after the trial. Joined me? On what authority? Where'd you find this out? Keyword all Earth Hill, they were annoying at the trial. This make to be fair, I think I was annoying. I think I was annoying in the trial. I was just very insecure. I was just very, very insecure after Naboo and I did so much preparation. After so much preparation, and then when things started falling apart and I started forgetting things, I just was like, I really want to be able to do this right, but I think I just, yeah, I didn't understand, and I kept yelling like, please, please give me a chance, and it just, yeah, it wasn't great. Really, a big factor of what pushed me over the edge was how insecure and how small I felt at the trial. I was just really embarrassed, and then learning all of it, you know, was sort of going in the wrong way. Even though we got the verdict we wanted, the consequences and all of that, it all just added up. You know, I just wasn't feeling good, and it all came out in the wrong way. I'm glad you think I did well for a first-time lawyer. Yeah, it just wasn't the easiest. Hang on. Can you read these elements from the periodic table? Okay, I'm about to make a horrible mistake. This is definitely bait, but I have to know what this says. Oh god, it's the whole fucking periodic table. Like, where, like, how am I supposed to find where these are? I'm not familiar with the periodic table. I don't think in Witchington we've discovered like 1% of these yet. What the fuck is rubidium? That's fake. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing as rubidium. What is it? Gah? That sounds like a Zealand tweet. Whatever a tweet is. Sounds like something he would write in his diary. Okay, gallium, geranium, arsenic, selenium, bromine, krypton. What do you want from me here? What do you want? I wonder if this is like bait that's not even supposed to make you read like Ligma. It's supposed to make you just waste all your fucking time. Fair enough. Ooh. Okay. I don't have time right now, but I'm gonna tell you, Vitruvius II is not disappearing forever. We have been talking about some more collabs in character, which I think will be really fun. So don't worry about having to say goodbye forever. We're gonna be back, and all of that. So I guess I'll say now, I'm trying my best. We've got mostly yeses. I'm trying my best to organize a Knights of Ours versus Town Magicians Mage Arena collab, which should be quite funny. To have us running around saying Fireball. I think it'd be fun. So far, people who are on board is all the Knights of Ours. So me, Calvin, Leo, and Royale. And then on the other team, where we've so far got Naboo, Zealand, and somebody else I think has said yes. I can't remember though. I cannot remember who else I asked. But yeah, there's gonna be a couple more people. So don't worry. That's gonna happen hopefully in the next few days. It should be good. Okay, I'm gonna step out of character now, and we can just do regular Zatsu for a little bit. There we go. I missed you guys too. Don't worry about me. Everything is fine. I missed you all. This is like the first stream I've done on my normal time in a very long time. But I'm happy to be back. And all I've been thinking about is New Witchington, baby. All I've been thinking about is what I want to do with this world or with this concept next, because I love these characters. I love these characters to absolute death. But the thing is, it's not necessarily about the characters. It's about the people who created them. So I'm already thinking about concepts for servers we could do in the future. Whether there's some sort of expansion of this scale of a project, or I think what I want to try and do is organize something small scale that is a lot more focused on hard RP. So that doesn't necessarily mean serious. You don't need to be serious all the time. But what it means is that you pick a character and you have to stick to it. Like, jumping in and then running around talking about stuff from YouTube or just anything that is your real life. I think that, I'll try and let people know that it's a little bit harder on the rules there. And I've already got a pretty interesting concept. I talked with Zadi a little bit about it this morning, and he was pretty encouraging. So yeah, I feel very, very keen. I feel very keen about these kinds of things, and I really want to do more of this. Was there anything I did that was scripted? Honestly, very little. Very, very little was scripted. The battle being at that time, I basically the day before was like, okay guys, we're going to do the battle now at this time, so that's the deadline for bringing me L. But otherwise, I let people know that on Mindcord. But otherwise, pretty much everything happened completely by chance. I had a vague idea at the beginning that Vitruvius would turn into a villain, but I had no idea how it would happen. The whole descent into madness arc just happened on its own, mostly due to me genuinely being fucking pissed off at everybody, I think. I think being so immersed and hard RPing while a lot of people were soft RPing, it kind of led to the whole your shit gets stolen and then, no one else really cares, but you care way too much. And then there's this whole thing comes out of it, and the obsession with consequence. Lucas talked a little bit about how he thinks in a future server there should be more rules about griefing and no stealing and stuff. So there would be actual in-game consequences for that kind of thing. But I was like, that's a good idea, but I was quick to say, like, that looseness for this server created this story. At least it created Vitruvius's story. If it wasn't for the semantics and the setup, the mechanics of the world, he wouldn't have had that motivation. He wouldn't have been pushed in the way that he was. And it was a very fascinating activity as an actor to do, and I was really, really grateful that I got to do that. So, even though on a gameplay level it's flawed, I still think that it pushed so much. Yeah, if Elle didn't steal my shit, and more really, if I didn't follow him, I don't think any of this shit would have happened. I never in a trillion years would have noticed that my eyes went missing if I wasn't looking out for it. Never in a quadrillion years. I mean, I think, even though it's controversial, I am still very much of the belief that I remember NIJISANJI the first, and I remember when we went to the end, and I remember that after we went to the end, nothing else happened. A lot of us were into RP, and a lot of us were doing characters, but the moment we went to the end and we got all those items, there was kind of just nothing else to do, because without something else to fight, without more going on, you're left with just, okay, well, what now? What now? Are we just gonna build stuff? And for me, I'm not much of a builder in Minecraft, so after that point, I was like, well, there's not really much for me to do here anymore. And we did the cook-off, which was nice, but being a villain, I get the want to have your Oshis on a chill Minecraft server, but level with me for a second. Has this not been done a quintillion times already? Chill Minecraft happens all the time, and there are countless clips also from this server of lots and lots of very chill, happy, joyful Minecraft. By, allowing things to slowly emerge, from the framework, the baseline of a happy Minecraft server, and then moving in a slightly more serious direction at the end, I think that it filled out those last 6 days in a really fantastic way. I mean, most of all seeing, what is it? How people adapted to the RP was amazing. I mean, people who didn't give a shit about it to begin with really started enjoying it and were actually really good at it. I don't know how much Imp was into the RP at the beginning, aside from just, I am Imp, and she was really good with the whole murder scene from day 2. That was fun. Loved how she did that. But seeing, the fact that she was running around stealing shit, it makes me think, how much of this is she taking seriously? But then that conversation on the Ferris wheel, you've changed me and all of that, it was just such a wonderful arc for her character. I think she did amazing, and all of it, I'm really very fascinated by Luxiem and Elle, his ability to, I heard about him apparently, going on the server without a POV quite a few times so that he could do things in secret. That's very clever, very, very, very clever of him to keep things mysterious, because up until the final episode, during the final episode, I didn't know what Elle was about. I had no idea. I was still drawn into the mystery, and I was coming up with ideas. How do we survive Elle as myself? Because I don't fucking what do we do, right? Bae, thank you for the super. It was magical. I'll always be grateful for this experience and how much it gave all of us. I am too. I'm so grateful. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. I think that even though being the villain is definitely controversial and a lot of people were very mean, about all kinds of things, it doesn't mean that I regret this at all, because let me be honest with you guys, the trope of villain who is set on their path, but there's one person who can always get through to them and they're friends with, the trope of hero and villain actually having to talk to each other where they can't harm each other, I'm so weak for it. I love it so much. So everything with Naboo was like, wow. It just spoke, you know, platonically to my Raylo heart so much, and it just felt so compelling and exciting in such a big way. No one found... Oh, Lucy had a base. It was in the end. I mean, yeah, no wonder no one found it in the end. Love Cake, thank you for the super. I'm desperate to know your thoughts about seeing Naboo cast her healing out in the final battle. It went silent and I'm so curious. I'll be honest, I definitely saw it, but there were so many fucking particles on screen, I couldn't really tell what was what. But looking back at the clip, I saw it, and it actually really does work as a moment. You know, it really does work to kind of see the blue and then for Vitruvius to stop, you know, and Shu and everyone calling like, Naboo, we need you, Naboo, he's right here, we need you, we can't do this alone, and all of that. So yeah, it was a really good moment, and I hope more than anything that people, because I want to find some way of telling the story. In the end, Naboo never landed a single hit. Is that so? That's funny. That's funny, but it's in her nature. It is in her nature, certainly. But yeah. It's in her nature not to harm anyone. She was running around healing. Favorite moment as an actor? There were a few. I think the moment that I cried with Calvin and Leo was really powerful. That was a moment where I really felt the character, and I really, you know, crying on command is still not something I can really do. But I felt it in that moment. I think, you know, there are a lot of different types of actors, and I think I think I kind of need to be a bit method. I'm learning that, you know. I think that just stepping into a character is a bit difficult, especially if it's more emotional. I think finding the emotion can be a bit hard sometimes. But if I'm very method and if I'm really there and if I'm really feeling those things, then I think I can let myself feel those things, and, you know, that's sort of how I bring it out. And, you know, being a method actor is kind of mysterious and cool in a weirdo kind of way, so I don't mind that. I'm not sure if other POVs still thought the final battle was serious. I mean, it must have been a little confusing. It was kind of impossible to relate all of that to everyone's POV in the end, because, you know, I wasn't, because of the bridge being built, I was like, is this, oh, you guys making an arena? Okay, I guess. And then I went up, I saw everyone gathered on the edge. I thought, oh, it's you guys. Hello. And then it turns out, no, those guys are just spectating. And then Gale fired at me, and I was like, well, all right, here we go. But it's also because Vitruvius's motivation to do the fight changed so much. Changed so much on day 12. I'm just gonna, give me a second. I'm just gonna type something out. Okay. There's more Minecord people chatting. What was I going to say? Yes, the motivation changed. In the beginning, it was, which is still technically the same. Find me L, you know. If you don't find me L, the town will burn. But then, after his experience with Calvin and Leo, after everything, after really pondering the nature of L as a person and realizing that even if L or Lament still existed, that humanity could persist with the power of love, you know, realizing that, I think, and then, obviously, seeing Lamp's painting of him and Naboo and then the eye. Just any villain left in Vitruvius died when he saw those paintings. That was the final straw, and the rage in him just couldn't keep up, which is why I was being so hammy during the battle. I think if I was still on my villain shit, the battle would have been, I would have done a way longer monologue with a lot more angst and stuff like that. But Vitruvius just wasn't feeling that at the time. He had found peace in a way. And all he wanted to do was to do the battle, A, to draw out L, and B, to let the townsfolk blow off steam. You know, if he can survive for ages and is really powerful, and you know, if he can do all of that, and then also isn't afraid to die, then he can give them a satisfying conclusion while also drawing out L so the others can take him out. Dikyo, thank you for the super. Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of already did that with the big talk that Vitruvius and Zealand had at the end of, you know, near the end of day 11. But even still, it would be kind of interesting to have another talk like that. There's still so much I think I want to explore with these characters. Nicola, thank you for the super. It is so crazy. It is so crazy. And God bless Uki Violetta for getting the perms to play the Cottage Witch mod pack, because it has led to so much. And obviously, I was never going to actually blow up the town. That would have been a fucking catastrophe. That would have been horrible. No, that was never going to be a possibility. That was a threat I was making with it, so I had an excuse to show off the horse fuck spell and create the arena. The way our entire battle arena was created by casting 4 spells total is madness. It would have been a bit fun, but people worked very hard on those builds, and then day 13 would have been done in a crater, and that wouldn't have been good. That wouldn't have been very fun, you know. You know, in character he was serious, but IRL I was definitely bluffing. You know, I would not have done that. You know, I'm always thinking about where the line is, and you know, that would have been too far. I definitely. Ever apologize for the builds you destroyed accidentally? I did, yeah. No, I was always in the mind cord saying, like, hope everyone's all right about all of this, and people were always very encouraging. That's the main thing to remember, is that people, from everything I have seen, really, really loved this experience. They loved having a villain. They loved for the RP to get a bit more serious, especially considering, you know, the serious RP was on the villain side. You know, serious RP on the villain side. But then the town was still, for the most part, pretty fun to be in. There was still lots of goofy stuff, in a way. Did you agree with it being called griefing? It depends. It depends. I mean, blowing up the guild hall was not griefing, of course, because that was done, you know, with permission from Leo as a piece of RP, and everybody in the Mind Cord confirmed that and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, I guess you could say, like, the little potholes around it was a bit of accidental griefing, but I don't think anyone was really too mad about that. I will say, if I am running a server in the future, I'm banning any. There is no excuse for creative mode. There is no excuse for spawning in items unless there's like a big bug, like unless there's a bug that completely deletes a person's entire backpack or something like that. No creative mode, no spawning shit in. You know, like that's a last resort, because, you know, losing things and needing to rebuild is a part of your character's story. You know, I think that's kind of important, really, to recognize. Anyway, it does always kind of irk me a bit when people are quick to pull out. And obviously, I'm not criticizing the others, and we're all really happy with how this turned out. That's just something for me that I would change. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Basically, there would have been a hard rule against, like, griefing. You know, like, you can't just run over to someone's house and blow it up for no reason. When I blew up Lucas's tower, I did so, to be fair, with the express permission of Lucas himself, of everyone who was online at the time. And in the end, it was a great moment that, you know, set Vitruvius on his path in a way. And that was good. What are your thoughts on whispering? I don't mind it. I think that in this context, it was necessary. I think that there would have been a really annoying amount of running around trying to find each other, and it would have made being a villain even harder than it already is. So I think the whispering was good, but an idea I've had for a future server is to basically have a position, you know, a role that someone can take up as a postman, where if you want to send a message to another player, the postman is a neutral party who will take physical messages and deliver them between players. And then the postman can have RP of their own, you know. Faith, thank you so much for the super. Oh, I'm glad you relate to him. Yeah, there's nothing, even though he's a bad guy, there's nothing wrong with relating to Vitruvius. I mean, obviously there's a lot of myself in Vitruvius, and, you know, hearing from Nana as well, Naboo, that she relates to Vitruvius in a lot of ways as well. You know, it's like, you know, I don't want anyone to feel like they're wrong for finding him to be enjoyable or relatable. You know, I understand him a lot as well. I think it is just impossible for a lot of people, because when you're following one person's POV and all you see of Vitruvius is him yelling at everybody, and then him blowing shit up, being a bad lawyer, and then like doing a whole big villain arc, it's like you may struggle to understand what his motivations actually are. The only part you may hear about is, oh, he's traumatized by his father. Well, whatever, but it's like there is more than that. There was always more than that going on. But it's difficult to see, which is why a big retelling or some kind of movie-style thing, I think, would be really important to help get this story out there. Lucia, thank you so much for the super. As a viewer, I feel I've invested a great deal of emotion in VCraft. It's hard to imagine what it must be like for those of you who are involved. Thank you once again. I mean, for me, it's funny because it kind of feels, you know when you get into a new fandom, and it's like you really like the characters, and you sort of have that really gleeful, almost childish sense of like, I want to see fan art, I want to, you know, like write fan fiction, I want to do this. It's like this real sort of honeymoon phase of loving this new thing you found and feeling a real strong attachment to these characters. You know, I had it back in the day with Star Wars, I had it with Undertale, I had it with, you know, with all kinds of different things. And I think this is the first time that I've properly felt that in a good while. You know, I feel sort of I'm a part of the fandom of the characters that we've created. And so when the others and I on the Mind Call, we talk about like, you know, oh, what if our characters did this? What if that? It's like I get really sort of caught up in it. It's very compelling stuff. It's really, really exciting. Saw most of it through Doc's POV. That's interesting. That's interesting. Doc was definitely a very open character who did talk to Vitruvius like more than the others. So I think that makes sense. Like if you look at it from like Luca's POV, all I'm doing is fucking shit up. From his POV, all I'm doing is running around causing problems. So I definitely get why. And also the thing to remember is fucking Oshi goggles as well, you know. Let's be honest, if you're a kindred, you're very likely to want to justify Vitruvius's actions, and you're more likely to like him because he is played by me. But if you're a Lucub and you're watching Zadi's POV, and then you see him, even though he's role-playing, getting mad at me, you're probably going to, you know, be a little more likely to side with him, and then maybe not like Vitruvius as much anymore because you just like Zadi so much, and what Zadi says goes. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we all go through that a bit, you know. Like for me, if Naboo said, this thing sucks, I'd be like, yeah, it probably does. Have I got a chance to watch the others' POV? I will watch Hysteria. It's good to see Vitruvius had me trembling in my boots. That's good. That is what I wanted. And also, might I say, you were very brave in the final battle, and I loved how you just kept coming for me with no armor and like just a diamond sword, you never gave up, and that was really, really cool. That was really cool, even though I kept one-shotting you. It was just, I mean, that's like earnest. And I said in character in the moment, I was like, she's braver than all of you. This is a farce. Blah, 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 blah. Can we make AUs of VCraft like a university AU? Of course you can. Do what you like. Do what you want. I am the biggest proponent of fans. Have fun. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. You know. Have fun. Do your shit, girly. Just have fun, right? Don't pester. If livers have said don't do this, then consider them when you're doing stuff about them. But otherwise, I say sky's the limit, you know. For me, if you're drawing fan art that's going to make me uncomfortable, just don't tag it. It's fine. You know, I can't stop you from having fun in your own way. So yeah, make AUs, make ship art if you don't tag it, at least with Vitruvius. I can say perfectly fine, you can ship Vitruvius with whoever you want. I don't mind. You know, do whatever you like. Wallflower, thank you for the super. Watching your POV was like getting into character with you, and we were invested in the madness V2 was ascending to about L. I mean, that, oh my god, I was going mad about L in real life. I was like trying to figure out what the fuck to do, you know. Because it's like, you know, you just absorb the perfect law of Minecraft. If you're just a villain and then you're like, yeah, but I can come back after death, and also I don't give a shit, I'm gonna blow up your house. It's like, well, what actually can you even do? You know, I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I was like, you know what, guys, the answer is love. And that fixed it. And then Vitruvius was you know, on his way back. Yukimi, thank you for the super. I couldn't catch everything during the VCraft stream, but I understood some parts. Still, your tone, atmosphere, and interactions conveyed so much emotion. I was completely immersed. I really loved your performance. Yukimi, thank you so much for the super. I'm really, really glad you enjoyed it, because I enjoyed it so much too. And I hope I can deliver more experiences like that as well. Can I also say something that has been deeply refreshing for me as a male VTuber is with Naboo being able to have very frequent, you know, emotionally charged interactions with a woman on stream, and no one is weird about it. Thank the fucking Lord that no one has been weird about Naboo with her relationship with anyone. Not just with me, but with anyone, you know. You told me that 3 years ago, I would have been like, no way that's happening. No way that they're going to let me get away with that. But just, you know, making friends and having like a really strong, you know, even the characters saying that they love each other. Like that's really, I'm like, what the hell? How am I getting away with this? It's really, really sweet that, you know, that much connectedness is possible now, you know, because before it really, really didn't feel possible a few years ago to have just an ordinary, nice friendship with a female VTuber. It was like impossible, and fans would get very mad at you. But you guys have really matured, and I really appreciate that. You know, it was so nice to not feel a bit worried about that kind of thing happening. But now, I'm totally chilled out. It's great. We can make friends with whoever I want. We can have fun. How relaxing, how nice, how freeing, right? So nice. So nice. This is true. Now every time you interact with other male VTubers, they're like, oh my god, my OTP art, yowie. I don't know how an entire, like, you know, this is gonna make me sound homophobic. I don't know how an entire genre of like, you know, ship discourse, an entire type of relationship is now somehow starting to feel overplayed. That should never be possible. That should not be possible, you know? It's like, it's like, you know, but it's like, I feel like I can't go 5 minutes without hearing about yaoi. It's crazy. Obviously, I am not against yaoi. I love yaoi. I swing both ways myself. I would be very silly if I had an issue with it. It's just quite funny that you hear about it so much. The last 15 years to establish their dominance, yeah. It's like, there's this old tweet. It's an old tweet about, like, Yuri. And someone was like, oh, this is like, someone said, can we make a version of Arcane but with yaoi? There's not enough yaoi in the world. And then someone pointed out the difference in the amount of yaoi on AO3 versus the amount of Yuri, and they were like, yeah, no, wrong. Like, there really needs to be more Yuri. It's not as though Arcane with yaoi would be bad, but it's like, you know, there's always going to be weird shipping discourse. I like both. Okay, girly, I like both. I think they're real nice. I like how sad and violent Yuri gets. You know, Yuri feels like the home of hurt, no comfort, graphic character death fix. That just seems to happen a lot with Yuri. Me, Ztruvius, yeah, well, if there's any, yeah, no, I mean, that's true. If there's any, I mean, I don't want to think about Ztruvius because Vitruvius is in that, let's be honest, in that relationship, Vitruvius is most likely going to wind up bottoming, and that's just not something I want to think about. But with, you know, yeah, there's a lot going on with other men within New Witchington, you know. Oh, come on, I'm not wrong, am I? Like, how, like, I can't really see it. I can't really see it. He doesn't have to. I know, but why is that your first? He can, what, like, no. It's like he can, but you know that's not what the fan art is going to be of. You know that's not the direction people are going to swing in. Bro, younger top. I'm not talking about the age. I'm talking about the emotional maturity. Okay? I'm talking about the fact that the one, if you think about Goku and Vegeta, the one who's always yelling is the bottom. Okay? This is a fact of life that I must accept because I, unfortunately, even though I'm never ever interested in ever doing that at a single point ever in my life, I am the guy who's yelling all the time. Very unfortunately, I am. This is just a coincidence that will haunt me for the rest of my days. Oh, sister, you're definitely not in the... You got me. I'm not in the yaoi fandom. You got me. I'll consume a little bit here and there, you know. I'll dabble, but you know, I don't think I'm not really in fandoms apart from this one because this is a part of my job now. You know, I'm not really in fandoms. You know why? I'm a little bit too employed, unfortunately. I'm sorry to say. Those of you with jobs who like yaoi, I love you, and well done. I don't know how you do it. I'm a little too employed and lazy also. All I have the energy for after streaming is zonking out and playing Hearthstone for 6 hours. Like, that's just, you know, I could barely do anything. But, hey, yeah, guys, you know what I'm talking about. I'm really glad I got to do this stream. I feel like emotionally I kind of overcame a lot of my hang-ups about the ending. No, I did not zerk it to Hearthstone. I said zonking out like, you know, like, just lying back and being lazy. That zonk does not mean zerk. Jesus Christ. What is there to even zerk to in Hearthstone? There's nothing. Well, you know, some of them hero skins are definitely like, you know, but like, you know, being able to, I don't know. I'm not even going to go there. Restart to install the latest Windows update. Do you have to ask me to do this now? No, thank you. I'm good. But yeah, really glad I got to do this because I had so many hang-ups about that final session. I wish that I'd been able to carry that emotion forward, or that I'd been able to sort of conquer, you know, Vitruvius's bad feeling about not getting mentioned in Naboo's speech. But I think it felt so real. I think it just felt so real, like I've been in a situation where something upsets me, and then I'm just kind of like, you know, you were in a situation where you can't go anywhere, so you just kind of have to sit there and drink in how sad you feel, and you can't really go anywhere. You know, I've definitely been there so many times, and it was familiar enough that because I thought maybe we were going to be there for like 1 hour or two, like 2 hours, maybe, I think 3 hours total I was expecting, right? But to wait for, you know, people's speeches went on for a really long time. Those speeches really, really ran very long, to the point where like we needed to keep the server open longer after it was closed. There's a lot of people, and I was dead fucking last. And there was so many times when I thought it was going to be me and then it wasn't, and so many times when it was like, okay, now we're going to read from someone who's not here, and it was just really, really long, you know. The server cut off when I finally got sat down and was talking to Naboo. The server cutting off then, I actually felt my fucking heart stop. Like, I genuinely was like, no, this can't happen. This cannot be the end. I actually, like, because Zadi had to go, so Shu was the one who shut it down, and then I said, Shu, please put the server back up, please put the server back up, please check the messages, I'm having, you know, a very important moment to wrap up my character, please put it back up. I felt so pathetic. I was begging him, you know, to put it back up, but thankfully he did. And obviously he didn't shut the server down to cut that off intentionally. He thought we'd all wrapped up. And that was obviously fine. And he did realize and then immediately put it back up. So she did a great job. And I'm also thinking about the moment when I got killed by the Enderman. I was trying so hard to hold on to the emotion, trying so hard to find what to say. And then I got killed by an Enderman, and I was like, fuck this fucking shit. I was so mad. Because that was it, right? There's no coming back after that. It was so goofy. So goofy to just suddenly get killed by an Enderman. The one time I'd taken my armor off to go and do so, I was just like, fuck this fucking shit. Fuck this stupid fucking thing. And then I walked past Mary, and I was really mean to him. And I did chat with him after the stream, and I said, I was very sincerely apologetic, and he said it was all good and totally fine, and he understood. But yeah, it was just, man, it was probably like the top three meanest I've been in some time. Lan, good to see you. Okay, thank you for bringing Vitruvius to life. I'm so glad you're here. I need to crash out about you for a second, okay? Okay, first of all, the paintings are like an emotional assassination, okay? Seeing not just one, I was already emotional at the one of Vitruvius and Naboo. Like, that was enough. I was like, wow, this is so brilliant. This is so cool. What a great moment to see the two halves of the painting. You know, you add the second half and complete it. I was like, wow, this is fucking incredible. And then, Jesus, and then the eye, just fucking gorgeous, such a beautiful painting, and like really, really well rendered, and putting it like this double wide thing, and that explanation of it, you know, the spark in your eyes was gone, and how in character, how that would communicate so much to him, how that would mean so much. Because at the beginning, you know, in the early days, when he would have been around Lamp, and when she would have seen him, he felt so, like, I guess, unliked, and he was trying to get stuff done, but he felt like people found him annoying and all of this kind of stuff, and he was very insecure, always like feeling so much passion but not really feeling it matched by anything. And then, you know, seeing that and seeing someone noticed like something that small and celebrated that about him, I think that's all, like, that was the moment where it was like the villain in him is gone. That he cannot believe that the town is flawed and evil if that exists, if there is that much love for the little details about people. It's because I was a film student. I like, you know, I'm always like so into like this, like these little artistic moments, and getting to go through the art gallery was also such a great experience. It was really, really well laid out, and that I kind of like stepped into it almost in real life. I was really enjoying it. Lamp canonically was always from afar, so it was through stories indirectly, then in group, that she always noticed, so I wanted to portray that. That's so cool. That's so well thought out. But the other thing I want to say, I think a lot of people, I'm lucky that a lot of people have been very complimentary of my acting in the server, and I think I did a good job. I think that on day 13, when Lamp found out that Zealand had left and you came to the community center and talked to Vitruvius, I think you mogged the shit out of me with your acting. That those tears were so real. Everything you did was so devastating. You know, like asking if he's not downstairs, the denial, the confusion. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I don't know. I still think I have a long way to go as an actor if I'm going to ever try to portray that type of emotion. It was really, really, really well done. I was floored. And I think maybe one of the reasons why I couldn't really keep up as a scene partner in that moment, because I was so flabbergasted by how real those tears were. It was like proper, real, ugly, messy crying. It's just really beautiful. I was stunned, and I saw a clip of it just this morning, and I watched it back, and I was like, my God. This, how have I not heard of you before? Because I'm terrible with social media. I feel kind of like a VTuber boomer. I just, so unfamiliar with so many people, but it's always a joy to meet this many new people. I was like, how have I not, like this, how has this person been on the server this long and I haven't seen this kind of a performance yet? I was just, Jesus Christ, I was really impressed. I had to get that out. I was just so impressed with your performance and the way that you just completely took control of that scene emotionally. It was so brilliant. Listen, like you know, your compliments are like an honor to me. After that, I feel like I have so much to learn from you. But I don't know. I think, I love acting, but I've never been classically trained or anything. I studied it very briefly once, but I didn't really learn all that much, and I'm mostly pretty self-taught. So I think on our level, I guess there's only so much that, you can always learn more from other people. You can always learn more from your peers. I don't really feel that there's any such thing as a better actor per se. I think there's just someone who may be more in control of their emotions. I don't know, you brought the emotion in a very powerful way. My only regret was not getting to town earlier. I totally get what you mean. And I had a lot of that regret with, Vitruvius needing to be away from the town for such a long time. I felt like there was a lot I missed out on. And I guess that's probably why we didn't interact too much, is because if you got to the town later and I left in like the latter half, then it's like there was only so much time in the middle that we could have reasonably interacted. I've watched your movie and have seen other videos. I think your acting and character creation has always been top tier. That's so cool. What the fuck? I'm glad you liked my movie. I'm glad you've been checking that stuff out. It's very difficult, I think. It's very tricky to have a proper emotional sort of outlet with content creation. I think that you must strike such a balance when it comes to finding out what people are okay to watch, what people will be invested in versus what you want to do. And this has been, VCraft Enchanted was the biggest opportunity for me as someone who felt sort of creatively unfulfilled in a lot of the content I was making, to get that balance of Minecraft being something people love to watch and also giving a platform for me to actually really try and act, and for so many others to rise to the occasion, even if they weren't as familiar with RP, and to still rise to the challenge and to be great scene partners. It's a bloody miracle. It is an absolute miracle. Thank you for giving me the chance to be an actor and support your journey to the end, man. There's so many wonderful people. So many wonderful people in the world. You know, I remember, like, right after going to the art gallery, I was, like, already late for a big, like, Knights of R's villain meetup where we were discussing what we were going to do with Elle. And I was flying there and I was like, I'm already late. I need a minute. I need a minute to think about what the fuck is happening to my heart right now. You know? Are you gay? A little bit. You know. But I would just, like, in game stood in the, you know, on the grass and looked up at the sky, and I was like breathing like, Jesus Christ, people are so brilliant. It was just, wow. I don't know. Maybe it's like the ADHD perspective of struggling so much to take care of myself, and then you know, the idea of looking after other people seems like the most wonderfully heroic act. So considering others in such a genuine way is like absolute magic to me. And, you know, seeing that in, like, you know, doing that through creativity, it was just such a perfect storm of things that I really needed to see in that moment, and that Vitruvius needed to see in that moment. What a fantastic thing. Jennifer, thank you so much for this super. RP was so good, I cried so many times. BF had to hug and kept checking on me. Aww. I'm glad he was there for you. And I had everyone on the Mindcord everyone on Mindcord was looking after each other because so many people were crying. Janice, thank you so much for the Aku Super. I truly appreciate all the passion and effort you put into these days. Vitruvius II feels so relatable and so touching to me. Thank you for giving us such an incredibly unforgettable story. Love you. I love you too. Mwah. Thank you so much for the Aku Super and for enjoying VCraft Enchanted for as long as you did. I'm sure there will be more of stuff like this that we can do. Hope it wasn't too much. From a painter's perspective, art speaks 1,000 words, and I think in character I spilled out too much about everything and anything. Hearing your reaction live was just, my God, my live reaction. I was like, it felt like somebody announced that I was the father. Like and yet someone announced I am the father on the Maury show, but I'm a virgin, you know. And then I'm just like, huh? It was the biggest huh moment of my entire life. The last thing that I would ever have expected to see was like a really beautiful painting from someone that I hadn't had the opportunity to talk to very much at all, you know. The one interaction we had before that was, I think you were the one who gave me the bunny slippers and then served me the Neverclear. So gave me bunny slippers and then got me extremely drunk. And then, yeah, just crazy. It's so crazy. What is this analogy? I'm the drink and the hello in the town. Yeah, that's it. Oh man, yeah. Just after the massacre, just coming into town and being like, hey there. Oof. That was a good moment. I got to pat myself on the back for that one. That was a good moment, but I'm glad you happened to be walking that way at the time. What would happen if you were the mayor? Oh God. If I was the mayor, I would have immediately weaponized the entire townspeople and been like, we must find Elle and destroy him at any cost. If I was the mayor, I would have created a task force that was dedicated to finding Elle, and that is all we would have done. I know that at the end of the day, I would not have been anywhere near as good a mayor as Clifford. I am so glad that he was the mayor. He was the only one who reasonably could have been the mayor. Everything about him suited the mayoral role. But that said, you know, consider NIJISANJI and now this. I've run for mayor twice and I've not run. So if there's another election in another one of these servers, I will be running again. If Naboo was mayor, sunshine and rainbows, everything is wonderful and lovely. And no one is mad anymore. She would enact some law that says that everyone gets a flower, and it would just kind of fix everything. You know, it's like those animations of the Winnie the Pooh who is like no one can say no to because he's so cute, and he goes from like eating honey in a store and he has no money to pay for the honey, and then they just can't kick him out because he's so cute, and then he becomes the CEO of the company and he's like, no bother, I don't know how to run a company, I don't know how to run a business, and they're like, well, we have to lay some employees off, so we're gonna go bankrupt. It's like, oh, don't just lay them off, how will they get money to buy honey with? And they're like, all right, what do we do? It's like, oh, I think we should give away money. And then suddenly like, well, sir, that worked. We're back in the black. Oh, what do we do now? It's like, oh, really? Well. And then it gets to the end and they're like, all right, so you rule the world now. You are the king of the earth. And if you press this button, everyone on earth is going to just be fine. He's like, oh, really? That seems rather simple. Surely there's more complicated than that. I said, no. All the world leaders were so afraid of making you upset that they just all agreed to mutually figure out their differences. And if you just press this button, there'll be world peace. He's like, oh, really? Is that simple? There we go. That was easy. The same exact thing. That's Naboo ruling the world. The idea of anybody making her upset, it just everyone's like, okay, I'm sorry. Oh. Jesus. Still haven't been outside. Gonna be honest with you guys. Still have not left the house. I did not even realize. Mary Lively, thank you for the super. Can I go for a walk? I really want to. I'm just like, I'm out of practice. Mary Lively, thank you for the super. Thank you for the amazing experience that VCraft was as a viewer too. I had so many emotions and feelings during those days. They hit close to home. Thank you for your passion and everything you do. I love you so much. Mwah. I love you too, Mary Lively. I'm really, really glad that you enjoyed it. We're definitely going to have more great experiences like that as well in the future. Cerulia, thank you for the Aku Super. Still catching up on the VODs. Thank you for all the precious memories of this incredible story and amazing acting. I'm so with the RP and I love it. So happy seeing you enjoy it. And finally, back to watching streams. GP, I missed you. I'm so glad to see you again. Good to see you again. I hope you're having a lovely day. And thank you for the Aku Super. But yeah, I should go touch grass. In fact, it's about time I called stream here. When's the next VCraft? I don't know what. It's all early days now. But I know that we want to do more of the same, My plan right now, I have two ideas, is to do a smaller scale server with a bigger focus on hard RP, which doesn't necessarily mean serious. It just means that people are going to be more committed to character. And then to finally try and get perms for a different mod pack. Because there are so many big mod packs. My dream, my big dream is a long-running RP server with, let's say, open on certain days of the week. Running in seasons, let's say. Seasonal server like VCraft, where there would be a period of uptime followed by off-season where you get to relax. And we let it run for a long time. In that time, if I could, I would love to do it with all the mods 10, because that seems like a lot of what we had with Cottage Witch, with all the stops pulled out. No limits, no balance. As high as you can go is as high as you can go. I think that with more time, more players, would be so cool, so cool. I've looked a lot into that mod pack. I really love really love what it tries to be. Adjustments will be difficult. Yeah, I think one thing I'm thinking about is if we did it for a long period, like if the server was on for a month, designated break days are so important, so important. Because with this, it was amazing to get that immersed, but we need like 2 days a week where it's offline. And I know that there may be an issue where someone who wants to participate can't participate on those days, but I think for the overall health of everyone who wants to take part, I think if this thing runs for like 2 months or something, it must We must encourage people to take breaks, you know, because with this, once Vitruvius became more of a main character, I was like, I can't take a break. I must be there. I was the main villain, and I'm like, I hesitate to say main villain. Really, the main villain was L. You know, I was the most obvious villain. I was the most obvious villain. But you know, there were lots of other villains as well. But main villain with the Phantoms. No, that's true. I was a villain, and I was like, if I take a day off from the server, so much is going to happen. I'm going to like fall behind. The Knights of Oz aren't going to know what to do. The plot is going to get less interesting for people. You know, like I just was like, I need to keep this rolling. 12 hours a day, every day. I have to do it. I have to do it. So in an instance where you know reliably that the plot is on pause and you can safely go outside and take a break. Exactly. We would like if Luxiem was busy on the final day, like we're just fucked, right? We're just fucked. Like there's no resolution to L's story. Wolflad, thank you for the super. Have you got any inspiration on a short to share with us? I've been working on a few, but obviously VCraft took priority for a long time, and it made it difficult to focus on anything else. But I will be doing more. Don't worry. Sabini Caddy, thank you for the Aku Super. Thank you so much for this wonderful experience. It was so touching, I can't put it into words. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you too. And thank you for enjoying the experience. It must have been difficult to follow with all those VODs, but I'm glad you did. Thank you so much. But yes, so that is the way the future looks for me. After a long period of uncertainty where I felt very insecure and upset and scared about my relationship with my content and feeling like there wasn't really an outlet for what I wanted to do that I felt comfortable and safe doing. This comes along and gives me a really wonderful direction, I think. I feel so passionate about this kind of server. I feel passionate about it not just as a form of content creation, but as a activity to do as an actor. I feel that I grew so much as an actor from this experience. It was amazing. And so in order to keep growing as an actor, I'll tell you something, not only am I obviously pushing for more projects like this to happen, I'm going to start going to school. Just a temporary evening class. I'm going to start taking some acting classes, and I'm going to learn some more stuff. I think it's about time I take this a little more seriously. So I'm going to be trying something like that. So, you know, I'll probably be learning about Meisner and all of that kind of stuff, which should be really interesting to share with you all. Cindy, thank you for the 5 gifted. All right, I got to go. Thank you very much, everybody, for your patience today, and thank you for enjoying all the letters. I took a long time to write them all this morning, but I'm very proud of how they turned out. They felt like a really nice emotional send-off for Vitruvius, and you never know. You may see him again sooner than you think. So don't cry yet. Save your tears, because I'm going to make you cry again another time. Snuntaku, thank you very much for the super. Crying is good for you. It washes your eyes. See you all soon. Love you. Bye-bye. And Margarita, thank you for the super as well.